Thank you, and welcome back to the Patriots 300 Level Podcast. My name is Eric, and I'm joined by my co-host Kevin. Welcome back for our 90th episode, where we'll be recapping another Patriots opening day loss, this time to the Las Vegas Raiders, and previewing their upcoming game versus the Miami Dolphins. Make sure to follow us on Twitter/X and Instagram at Pats 300 Level Pod for up-to-the-minute updates and commentary on news of the day. Kevin, you were at opening day this year once again. This is a game where we talked about that we had a feeling it was going to be a close game. New regime with the coaching staff, some new players, turnover, learning a new scheme as well, and playing a team that was very similar to yours with the Las Vegas Raiders. We knew it was going to be tight. There was going to be some rust, some uneasiness in the beginning. What was just your overall thoughts? I know you and I both predicted the Patriots to win, but we also said we wouldn't be shocked if they lost, and they lost 20-13. What was just some overall takeaways you had from the game?
Yep. Although last year we actually discussed a opening day victory,
We did.
um, so not like every year we're doing one. Although it's
Yeah.
been every single home opener, right?
Yes.
That has been a loss. So yeah, I thought what they looked like um, was kind of what we thought, but not really. I think it was a little bit more eye-opening where. We didn't really get to see Drake that much during preseason, during training camp.
Yep.
That's one of the things where I think he may have actually benefited if he had, um, because I think looking at him now, there hasn't been much that's changed. He
Yeah.
still has the same type of mechanics. He still has those errant throws that you see last year. You saw at UNC. And he looks kind of the same type of raw player where he'll go from having those what the hell was that kind of throw like he did in the
Yeah.
first series, and then he starts dropping dimes out of nowhere. But then he has another mistake, and then he kind of pitter patters there. So he might have benefited a little bit more from a little bit more playing of live action. But
Mhm.
I think the one thing that watching him there just made me kind of temper expectations where it may take longer throughout this year for him to kind of settle down and develop.
Yep.
And he's still young. He was the youngest quarterback coming out, I believe. Yeah, he had to have been because he played the least out of everyone of the
Mhm.
five quarterbacks. Everyone else had a lot more experience. They had a lot more years under their belt. A lot of them had more multiple systems that they played for.
Yeah, the only
Um,
one I would say JJ had less experience, even though he started the same amount of being a starter of 2 years,
mhm.
and may have started one more game. But in his offense, he wasn't really needing to lead the charge. It was the
Yeah,
running game that
although
was the
he did come
focus.
from I think a more defined program than
Yeah, he
and
came from
a better
IGM,
conference. What was that?
IGM Academy in high school, and then he was in a
Yeah.
big,
Oh, he's in Michigan. He's a
yeah,
bigger
Big
school,
Ten, Michigan.
Big
Yeah,
Ten. So, he was in a better conference. He was in a bigger school, and it just had more of a winning culture around it.
yep,
And he's just really fluid. Where May doesn't have. If you compare the two players, May has much more intangibles. He's a better arm. He's faster. Um, but McCarthy, his mechanics look better. He's
hmm,
cleaner. He's crisp.
yep.
He's got kind of got that winning culture where I'm very interested to see kind of
It's one
what
game, Kevin,
I know. It's
against
something
the
that we had
Bears.
talked. It's
Yeah.
something we had talked about before, even in the draft. There's just something about him. There's usually one guy every couple of years that I like that is like this. And it hasn't been
Hmm.
actually for a while. Baker was the last one, where just someone that has that type of something about him that you can't really put your finger on it. But I'm interested to see kind of how that does. But I don't want to get caught up on JJ McCarthy. Drake
Yeah.
May. Any other things than what I mentioned?
Yeah, I think one aspect of concern, which I know a lot of people look at his record and how he's technically now 3-10 as a starter. Again, last year was with Gerard Mayo and Van Pelt and a lot of
Oh, that's another thing I
incompetency.
want to cut in. Another
But
thing.
he's really only 1-10 as a starter. Two of his three wins, one was against the Jets where he played, I think, the first drive and got hurt. Only had six throws, and then Brissett came in and took over and led them to the win. And then last year against the Bills, what's his name? Joe Milton came in after the first drive and pretty much got the win for the Patriots. So he really only has one win, which again, I don't know how much, a lot of it is not on him. But I think we saw this week, especially with the Ravens Bills game later on Sunday night, just how much room for growth he needs to get to where being a top 5, 10 quarterback is in this league. He definitely has the skills to be a top 5 quarterback, but right now he's not even close to being in the same conversation as Josh Allen,
Yeah.
which is essentially what people are trying to comp him to be. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, even Justin Herbert on opening night or his first game, Drake Maye is a long way away from being there. He has the tools to do it, but he just has to put it all together.
The other thing I meant to say as well that we had discussed about where I'm basically now kind of the more I think about it, counting this more as kind of rookie year part two. Because
Yep.
last year was, we all know, was a complete waste of time. The bunch of
Hmm.
idiots that they had on the coaching staff. They had a guy that had no idea how to run an offense. They had a head
Yep.
coach that had no idea how to be a head coach. And really, all of that was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I think that going into this year, there's only so much that Josh can do in training camp and preseason where he's trying to
Hmm.
install a new offense with them, where you can't do that and completely change his mechanics and throwing motion and making sure that he's in a better position all in one kind of off season. It's a
Yeah.
lot to do, especially for a rookie. I know with Cam Newton, we actually saw a little bit of that happen where he actually threw a lot better in the beginning and he learned the offense, but he's also a a, a pro and someone
Yeah.
that's used to that sort of thing. So it's a little bit different there. Um, that
Yeah.
said, I'm hoping that kind of going into throughout the season, we do see development with those mechanics and
Hmm.
we see less of these errant throws
Hmm.
where he's stepping in the wrong direction and then
Yeah.
throwing the wrong way, and that's why it ends up sailing up high. And um,
And you were at the game on Sunday, and on the TV version, you could tell it was raining, but it was tough to tell how much. How much of that do you think was the ball slipping out of his hands, or him not having a full grip on it because of the inclement weather? Also, him possibly not having as much experience with inclement weather being in North Carolina, versus him also maybe even just him being excited because it's the first game and it's more like adrenaline and jitters.
I think it's more that because we've seen it now multiple times when it's not just the weather, where
Yeah.
the beginning of the game is where he looks like this,
Hmm.
and that the throw in the beginning of the game where he overthrows, I
Yeah.
can't remember who it was. I think it was Douglas,
On the third
um,
down.
on the third down, where it was way over his head. His foot was in the wrong direction on that throw,
Yeah.
so it's not the him. He mentioned about the weather slipping out of his hand. It might have been a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
he's also not throwing it the right way for it to actually happen. So
Hmm.
um, that just needs to get cleaned up. That
Yeah.
just can't keep happening.
Yeah, overall, his stats on the day, 30 for 46, 287 yards, one touchdown, one interception. I think those stats are very misleading versus what we actually saw from him. Is like if you just looked at the box score without watching the game, you would think he had a pretty good game, but he didn't really. But also for
It
this
was kind
team,
of a tale of three games where you saw the beginning wasn't great.
yep,
Then he started playing really well. And then once the interception happened, I don't know
yep,
what happened. He just fell off a cliff there. And
yeah,
then it seemed like they lost kind of faith in him and started being a little bit more cautious with the play calling.
yeah.
Um, so
But also, if you're asking him to drop back 53 times in a game, especially the first game of the year, that's not where he is right now in his development. That's not
mhm.
where you would expect success. And I know some fans are worried that he's already a bust or whatever, but just some caution or room for hope is Josh Allen, who I think everyone would say is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. He was not good until halfway through his third year. And that's when it started to click. And he started getting pretty good. And then year four is when he just completely went off. Drake Maye is in a similar situation coming out of college as Josh Allen was. Again, he's not as big as Josh Allen, but has a lot of similar tools.
And I think he is
Uh,
also looks better now than Josh did then. Not saying he's going to be
oh
any
yeah,
better than
100%.
Josh. Like
Yeah,
Josh looked really bad.
he did. That's
He
why
looked
some
like
people were thinking
unplayable.
Stidham was going to be a better quarterback than Josh Allen.
But there were definitely flashes though too. So I don't want to get all
Yeah.
negative here. You
Yep.
could see, and I kind of want to move on from him so that way 'cause we're already running with time. But you could definitely see the flashes where this offense is going to go, which made
Yep.
me helpful. And again, the first game of the year is really tough to kind of judge just because it's so um early on where we know that preseason and training camp they can't do everything that they can before, and usually the first 4 games of the year is kind of where it's like an extension of preseason training camp. So there were definitely flashes that I saw with the offense
Yep.
and the defense,
Yeah. No,
where
I'd agree
they're
with that.
you could
And
see
I
where they
think,
could potentially be going.
yeah. And I think one other thing that probably hurt his case was the running game was not able to get going. Stevenson, 7 carries for 15 yards. Henderson was okay, 5 carries for 27 yards, but that's not really going to get it done with an offense that is supposed to be run first. And because of that, the defense probably knew that it was going to be passing most of the time. That's when the defensive edges can just tee off and pass rushing. So again, that probably hurt Drake May as well, and partially contributed to his negative or not as successful game.
Yep. And then even with the running backs, you look at it, there a lot of the time they just had no holes, and
Yeah.
the run offense, the run blocking on the offense, was not good. They had
Yep.
no push. They weren't able to kind of get any openings. So it's not totally on all the running backs,
Yep.
although
Agreed.
the amount of gap running that they were doing isn't really what Stevenson's game is. And if they're going to be doing that type of style, it'd be better off, I think, if Gibson was in there instead of
Mhm.
Stevenson. Although Stevenson, I thought did well in the pass blocking. I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
could tell that from the TV copy or
Yeah,
not,
you
but
could. And then
um,
Henderson didn't appear to do as well, even though he came out in the draft as being one of the top pass pass blocking backs
mhm.
in recent memory.
Yeah. All right.
But again, it doesn't always translate. One of the another running back that was like that coming out of college, which was supposed to be a really good pass blocker, was Pierre Strong, and then he was shipped out after year one. So maybe it's a difference from college to NFL, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
All right. On the defense, I thought that they showed some good things, some not so good things.
Yep.
Run defense was really good. They held Genty 38 yards and basically really had a lot of push at the line.
Yep.
And a lot of they were able to kind of cover the gaps and stop the run. Pass defense, they gave up a ton of big plays,
Yep.
especially when you didn't need them. I also thought that Tyrell Williams' play calling was very like peculiar, where
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of crazy things at the beginning of the year, where you'd rather them kind of focus on kind of the meat and potatoes at first, and then kind of get
Mhm.
into it. Like when you're dropping back Tyrell Williams and Christian Barmore into coverage to
Milton Williams,
Milton Williams, what did I say?
Tyrell Williams.
Oh, that'd be a problem if he drops back at the coverage. But if Milton Williams and Christian Barmore are dropping into coverage to do this zone blitz where they drop in the zone and you have linebackers blitzing, like that's not the best use of your players.
Yeah.
Um, Again, eventually it might help, but it's kind of weird to be doing it now and when like they did struggle to kind of have cover and
Yeah.
prevent those
I,
big plays.
Yeah, just a few for me, a few observations was the pass rush. Landry was excellent throughout the
Hmm.
game. The Patriots had 4 sacks. He was technically credited with 2.5. He should have technically had 3, where he should have gotten a half sack on the Hawkins sack as well. But he was essentially in on all 4 sacks. But the Patriots weren't able to really get much pressure when they were only rushing 4, which is something that they should be able to do with Landry, Barmore, and Williams. When they started blitzing, that's when they had a little more success. I do wonder in the pass game, not having Christian Gonzalez, how much that affected their negativeness with Geno Smith pretty much torching them 24-34, 364 and a touchdown. He pretty much could do whatever he wanted for with the few instances where he gets sacked. But Bowers, 5 catches for 103 yards, Myers, 8 catches for 97 yards. And a lot of their catches came on second, third, and long, and they were just able to get first down where uh, they pretty much just went right through the defense. So that's just one thing I noticed. I do wonder though if part of it was they went into the game thinking we'll take out Genty, and if we just let Geno Smith beat us, if he beats us, he beats us, and that's just what happened. I wonder if that was part of their game plan since they were so good at run defense. But it might have also just been that it's early in the year, you're without your top cornerback, you have to be more conservative in your coverage because of that, because you don't trust your cornerbacks that's available and you don't want to get beat deep. So they're letting the receivers run open and get first downs.
Yep, and there's a lot of zone,
Yeah.
which can really hurt you when you're
Yep.
facing like veteran players. So Geno Smith being in the league for a while, Myers is really good about knowing how to where to sit in the zone.
Yep.
Bowers is really good. So
Yep.
that's where you kind of got picked apart there. It may help when Gonzalez gets back. They may go more man-man, and kind of go from there, and then maybe we won't have those problems too.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Any other observations?
Yeah, I think a few. One was that the safety play was shaky at best. I know Bledsoe had some few, or Hawkins had some good plays throughout. But overall, I'd say it wasn't great. And that's why I was surprised to see Duggar only had 7 snaps, with I'd say half of them coming at the linebacker position. And again, I know he's not really a great coverage safety or free safety, but you would think he should be better than what you're putting out there. So I wonder if we see more of him going forward, or like, what's the point of having him if he's only going to play 7 snaps? I know he has the contract and whatnot, but you might be just better off cutting him loose if you're not going to use him at all. And then Keon, who I've always been a big fan of, had high hopes for him coming into this year, only playing 46% of the snaps. And the snaps he was in, it didn't really look like he was getting good, making
He was
anything
lost a
productive
little
out
bit.
there. Yeah.
So I don't know
And
if it's just the new scheme too, where it's
yeah, it could
a
be.
scheme change where the last 2 years he's used to the same type of um, scheme, and it's a
Yep.
different one for him, and maybe he just doesn't know where to be at the time.
Yep. Agreed. And then just one other just observation from the game overall was I was very, very surprised to see pretty much no adjustments made at halftime or throughout the game. You saw the Seahawks make adjustments towards the end of the first half and going into the second half to improve upon themselves. And
The
you didn't
Raiders,
really see anything different from the Patriots in the second half. Again, it's one game, but that's something that I would have expected to see from Josh and Vrabel.
Pete Carroll's coaching the Raiders, not the Seahawks now.
You, you know what I mean. Geno
Um,
Smith and Pete Carroll, I'm used to both of them being on the Seahawks, so
all
it's
right,
been a long
3 up,
day.
3 down.
I'm
You want to
assuming we're
go?
both in the same. There wasn't much great to see from this game, so I'm assuming we both have the same players. I can go first.
Yep.
Landry was my number one by far. Credited with 2.5 sacks. He was in on all four. He actually led all of the NFL in pressure this week. Uh, Again, it's only one week, but great to see that from him. He really made his presence known, and if Williams and Barmore are able to get some pass rush and Landry's able to put together numbers like this going forward, their defense should get better. Number two was Booty. He's really turned into a good wide receiver. The last 5, 6 games he's played, I think 3 of his last 4 games he's had gone over 90 yards receiving. This game he was, I just had it up. Booty was 6 catches, 103 yards, 17.2 average. 5 of his 6 receptions went for first downs. With his one reception that didn't, he was half a yard short. So not only was he making big plays, he was making them in key situations and being productive on offense. So really great to see him going forward. And I think he could, if he keeps developing like this, he really could be one of the star players on this offense. And then my number three was Milton Williams. I believe he was credited with 7 pressures. Uh, he really made his presence known on the defensive side. Again, they only had 4 sacks overall, and it didn't seem like Gino was getting pressured too much. But when he was, Williams was making his presence known. And hopefully it can just get better as the season goes on, and then Barmore is able to get better too. But that's who I had.
Yeah, I had the exact same order. I know with Assman, I was just looking back to see who had him as Offensive Player of the Year because I
That
know that
was
one
me.
of us did. I think I had mentioned previously on that episode that I thought he was going to be a sneaky good player that year, and then you brought up he was going to be Offensive Player of the Year. So,
Yeah.
no, I
For
surprise.
the
I think
Patriots.
for us. Oh yeah, for us. Yeah,
If you didn't
Patriot.
watch this last week, that was my prediction was he was going to be the Patriots Offensive Player of the Year, not
Yeah,
the
not the
NFL
NFL.
Offensive Player. But that would be
All right.
nice.
Yeah. Three down. I'll give mine. I have Hawkins. I thought he was terrible.
Yeah.
Even he had an interception, but that wasn't really fully on him. Drake May, he just needs to be better. If the Patriots are going to do anything, he has to be carrying the team. And he's not in that situation yet, and wasn't the other day. And then special teams. This is between Behringer was awful. He had just they especially when they ended up deciding to punt at the end of the game rather than go for it. He ended up netting 20 yards on the punt. It was not good. Just shank after shank. He's had this problem the last 2 years where he's just
Ever
not.
since Belichick left, he's
Yeah,
not
he's
been
just
a good punter.
yeah, he's either booming it too much or like even there was another punt where he didn't even get it to the 20. So he had another kind of shank
Yep.
where like it would have been better off getting a touchback. Um, and then the kicker, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not gonna try to.
Yep.
He ended up missing a 40-yard field goal. Yeah, you
Yep.
just can't have that. And again, he's a rookie kicker, but he needs to just be better.
Agreed. I think those are all deserving. My number one was Campbell and Wilson. I thought Campbell had a pretty good first half, but he was pretty bad in the second half. Holding penalty, allowed a sack and fumble, allowed some pressures, and then Wilson was pretty bad as well. I believe he allowed 7 pressures, which just you can't do if you're a starting offensive lineman. I know they're both rookies; it's their first game, but
I
you have
wouldn't
to
put the
get.
fumble on him. I put that more on the bad chip block by Stevenson,
Yeah,
where
but
he didn't do much.
yeah, Stevenson didn't do much on that, but that's still something that Campbell let him go by. Again, unless he was expecting Stevenson to get him and it was
I
supposed to be a
think
quick
based on
throw.
that, I think he knew that Stevenson had the chip too, and
Yeah,
he didn't end up chipping him.
maybe. But overall, from Campbell, he also had 2 penalties. Just not a good first game, even though he did have a good first half. Number two is May. Like we said, even though his numbers were good, you have to get back more from him if you want to win in this league and you want to have success. And then my number three down was Behringer, who just had an awful game.
News around the NFL quick before we get to the Dolphins preview. Ravens ended up choking. Ended up being a really good game
Yeah.
where the Bills ended up coming back and winning it. And then anything on that game you want to talk about?
No, not really. Just another 10-point leading blow by the Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh? One of the
John
Harbaughs.
Harbaugh.
I got it mixed up. And then Josh
It does
Allen
get you
was,
wonder about like Harbaugh, how much longer like does he eventually have a leash where
yeah,
they've lost so many of these types of games
yep,
where do they go a different route? Where but then
yeah.
the thing is like are you gonna get really a better coach than him? I
I
don't
agree.
know.
That's the tricky situation that they're
It's
in
the
and
same
the
thing with
Steelers
Sean
are in.
McDermott
Sean
as well.
McDermott too. I think
He's
you
an
have to if the Bills don't get to the if they lose before the AFC Championship game this year, you have to move on. They should have moved on from him 3 years ago and brought Bill in. But regardless, he's every single game that they lose in the playoffs is entirely on Sean McDermott. And he's
mhm.
also supposed to be a defensive guru and another game where his defense allows 40 plus points,
Yep.
even though they
Uh
won this game.
mhm. And then the Bears game last night. So we're taping this on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a tale of two halves where if you look at the first half, people are saying, "Oh, Caleb Williams good, Ben Johnson and JJ McCarthy look like dog shit." And then after McCarthy's interception, he ends up just turning it on, and he
Yeah.
goes, I forget what the stat line was, but I think it was like 10 for 11 with 100 something yards. um, and just look like a winner. There's just something about him, like I was saying, that I don't know. I like McCarthy. I like the situation he's in there too. I think he fits. He's a really good fit for the Viking system there. And I think he will do well there. It'll be interesting to see how it goes on the rest of the year. But I also think another thing kind of coming out of this game is that one, like Ben Johnson kind of choking away, especially at the end too, where he made a really bad coaching decision where he told his kicker to kick it kind of out of the end zone, where you take the sure thing there, you kick it out of bounds, so that way, right now, a touchback gets the ball on the 35-yard line, out of bounds gets on the 40. Those 5 yards aren't going to matter. Where you have to stop them on that first drive, that first kind of set of downs. And if you don't, you're lost it anyway. So those extra 5 yards aren't going to really matter. The time matters way more in that instance. You lost 40 seconds there where you could have gotten the ball back with 55 seconds, whereas you ended up getting it back with 60, 15, 16 seconds. That was a bad mistake. And then I just think, I think you still think the same thing I do. I just don't think Williams has it. I don't think
He has the talent.
he
I
has the,
don't know if he's going to put it
he doesn't
together.
have the makeup. And especially there's those other reports coming out saying that he might be dyslexic. Um, I don't know. I don't know much about dyslexia, but I can't imagine it being easy to be a quarterback
Yeah,
having that. Um,
agreed.
all right. Um,
Yeah,
going
those were
on. Oh, go
those were
ahead.
the main things from news around the NFL. Again, there were other games, some good games like opening night. Uh, but in the opening night, Cowboys versus Eagles, and then also the following night, Chiefs versus Chargers. But moving on to this upcoming game versus the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins got absolutely demolished by the Indianapolis Colts, 33 to 8. Absolutely embarrassed. Tua was 14 of 23 for only 114 yards, one touchdown, two interceptions. And then they made the Colts look like the best team in football. Again, the Colts do have weapons on offense. They don't have a quarterback, but they do have a lot of
Who
good
knows?
weapons.
Maybe he leaves Giants. I'm
Maybe.
just kidding. I don't think he's
Uh,
good.
yeah, I don't think he is either. So I know a lot of fans are expecting the Patriots to win. However, the Patriots are 2-9 in their last 11 games versus the Dolphins overall, and they are also 2-12 or 2-10 in their last 12 games in Miami, which includes Brady being 2 of 5 in his last 7 games versus Miami. So Miami has always historically been a tough place for the Patriots to play, especially when the game in Miami is in the beginning of the season, considering the heat and humidity down there. So that's going to be tough for them. I think with the Dolphins being absolutely embarrassed, you can either expect two things from them this week. They're either going to come out trying to make up for that and show that that's not who they are, or they're just going to completely give in and get destroyed. I'm expecting it to be somewhere in the middle. I think you're going to see a better effort from them, but it depends on what type of defense the Patriots have and if Gonzalez is playing. If Gonzalez is not playing and it's a similar defense as to last week, we've seen Tua shred the defense if the Patriots coverage is off or playing in zone where you have Hill or Waddle that can just do a quick slant and cut 2 yards and then they catch the ball and move up 4, 5, 6 yards. If they do that, you Patriots might be in trouble. They do have very good running back in Achan. Uh, he didn't run as much last week because of how much they were down by, only 7 carries for 55 yards, but he did average 8 yards a carry.
Did get a
So
touchdown.
what was that?
He did get a touchdown. Help me in fantasy.
Oh, that must have been receiving. That wasn't
Yeah,
rushing. Um, So it depends entirely on what type of defense they're playing. If they're able to get pass rush, they'll have some success, but it's tough to get a pass rush on Tua if you're playing zone and off in coverage because he can just do a quick slant in and out and get the ball out before the pass rush even gets there. So they'll have their work cut out for them if their pass defense is like it was against the Raiders, but I almost said Seattle again. So it's going to be interesting. I think Mike McDaniel, their head coach, is not a good head coach. I think he's going to be gone after this year. I think Greer is going to be gone, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins do win this game, even though, in my opinion, the Patriots are a better team.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add. I think another thing too, like Xavier Howard said, who used to play for the Dolphins, saying that they knew exactly how to stop Tua. They just flooded the middle of the field and then took away his first read, and then he's like a lost child out there. So that's what the Patriots need to do. They need to take away the short stuff. We know his arm isn't great, and then kind of go from there. I am concerned about it being the second week of the year. The Patriots haven't done well, and it's really tough to go down there
Yeah.
in that heat. Um, so I think it's going to be definitely a challenge for them in this game.
Yeah. And I think it's going to depend a lot on if Gonzalez is back. Whenever he's played against the Dolphins, he's really helped shut down Tyreek Hill. And if you take out Hill, you pretty much just have to worry about Waddle, especially now that Jonu's gone. So you just have to hope that either Alex Austin or Carlton Davis or someone else is able to take out Waddle, and the Dolphins don't have as much free release, especially if those are two of his top targets and you're able to take him out and he has to start looking at second, third option. But we'll have to wait and see. One other quick note is Dolphins offensive line have had some injuries, so they actually signed Cole Strange off the Browns practice squad. So we might see some Cole Strange on the offensive line for the Dolphins this week. So that'll be interesting to see how he does going up against Barmore and Williams.
All right. So predictions: Dolphins are favored by -1.5. Over under is 43.5. What do you got?
I have the Patriots sneaking out a win 24-20. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins win this game.
All right. Just because in my heart, I think they may win. But if I need to ever bet in this game, they haven't shown me enough. So I'm going to say the Dolphins are going to win 24-17. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review, and look forward to talking to you guys next time.